Hello and welcome to the Right Click Save podcast. I'm your host Calcio, joined as always by Jimmy T. On today's episode of the Right Click Save podcast, we are joined by the founder of House of Bandits, street artist and scoundrel, the man behind the mask. It is Bandit. How are you doing today, Bandit? You all good?
Good. GM, man. How y'all doing? First
GM.
off, thank you for having me. I appreciate you both. So thank you.
You're very welcome, man.
I'm fantastic. And I want to start really where we normally do a guest, which is straight from the top. I want to know who the man behind the bandana is, a little bit more about Bandit, kind of just from the top. Why is it Bandit? Where does that name come from? And a little bit more about who you are.
Just before we get into that, let's have a quick word from our sponsors who make this show possible.
Monuverse is an art-based project that uses the power of NFTs to hone in on culture and bring it to the forefront. Their aim is to connect communities from across the globe via the most iconic monuments and champion artists and the legacy they create. Monuverse gives holders a unique experience in which they can travel back in time to see what man's greatest creations looked like upon conception via an immersive and educational experience that displays history, art and culture with guided tours via their AI-powered guides. The first drop successfully launched on the 11th of November and featured the stunning Archer piece in Milan, Italy. Following episodes will continue to expand the Monuverse and allow holders access to in-real-life events and further growing out the understanding of the incredible world we live in. Links to find out more will be provided in the description below.
When I discovered Doodles, through a friend of mine, through Mary, she put me onto Doodles and I checked it out and I definitely fuck with the art, and so I jumped in. And I knew what I wanted to do with Twitter and my art. I kind of had a plan. So I went shopping for my Doodle about a week after I got my first one, which was a week after mint. And I didn't mint. I got it literally the next day. But about a week later after that, I went looking. I knew what I wanted to do, and my art, obviously, I do it. I don't want a lot of people to know that it's me doing some of the things I do. So when I went shopping for a Doodle and I saw the bandana trait, it was a no-brainer for me. So, that's when I picked up 2691. And then I started the Twitter handle for him. And then that's where I just began, putting work out there, joining the community. So, yeah, I found 2691 and that's where the journey began. And then a little while after that, I dark moded him because, you want to be relatable and something PFP you can identify with, right? And in real life, I wear nothing but black, and I've always worn nothing but black, to the point where it's like my family's like, trying to slide some like colorful clothing into my wardrobe, and it just like find its way to the back of the closet, never to be seen. So I just did it for fun, and I really like the idea of like having an NFT and owning it, but still kind of like making it your own, derivative style. And when I did the dark mode one and I put it out there, I remember. I think NF Terps, which is my homie, he was one of the first ones that hit me up like right away, like, yo, can you do that to my Doodle? And he has a skelly mask, and so I did his, and then one after the other, and then I found myself over the next like few months every night, like to like 3 a.m. just like on the computer, just doing derivatives, like
Web3
Totally.
That's what Web3 stands for. It's Web3
Web3 AM, exactly. No, it was dope. It was it wasn't like I wasn't asking for money. I was just doing it for fun. Like I was vibing hard with the community, and I had been in NFTs for a long time before Doodles, but to be honest with you, like Doodles was what kind of put me really onto Web3 and community, and like really going into Twitter and engaging with people, and like people that have the same likes and interests as you, and fuck with all this different art. I got put onto a bunch of new art that I had never seen or experienced, or technology, and I really fucked with all that. And so to me, that was like the main start.
I love it how like a particular collection or trait can be that turning point for people. It was the same for me. Like I sort of toyed around with NFTs until I eventually bought one in a community that suddenly vibed with me, and it just suddenly you get that massive sort of snowball effect, and you end up right down that rabbit hole and completely obsessed and spending all of your time up till 3 a.m. working on stuff within the space.
Oh yeah, completely obsessed. It's all you think about. And it got more and more as the deeper you go in, you know. Yeah, it becomes like an obsession, to be honest with you.
I think it's really interesting as well, because for me, I've said this many times on podcasts we've done, I don't have that creative gene. I don't have that artistic flow. So Jim animates every single week, and then we have artists like yourself come on, and their vision was to just create. And it's one of those really weird things where when you listen to people just say, yeah, I just want to do it because I really enjoy doing it. It's quite refreshing. But I think one of the things that I found most curious about you and the way you've set House of Bandits up and your brand is how much you do in person, but still pseudo-anonymous, right? Because obviously it's a big part of all of the events you guys do. I remember in NFT NYC you were leaving jackets everywhere and things like that. Talk to me about that part of the strategy and how that became a thing.
Well, I mean, I've been a graffiti writer since I was like 14 years old. So like, and my whole life I've always kind of hidden that aspect from anybody. Obviously it's not like, you know, like, I don't want to get in trouble, etc. And so, to say the least. And so that was always a given, especially with the art and what I wanted to put out there. But at the same time, you know, I never thought I wanted to be completely, you know, doxxed, like fully anonymous. Like, so going to IRL events is like, for me, it's an entire part of the whole thing. Like if you're in Web3, I totally believe you should be, and you want to build and you want to grow, you should be going to all these in real life events and engaging online and doing the events, etc. And so that to me was like, that was a given. Plus the fact, like when I kind of started being fully not doxxed and anonymous wasn't like the greatest thing. Like people thought, oh, you're going to be a scammer. And I'm sure when I first came out, like, and I wasn't doxxed, some people probably thought that, like, oh, who's this guy? He's not doxxed or whatever. And like, I remember there was like a time of that. And so my kind of strategy, to be honest with you, was to go to a lot of IRL events and to put myself out there, and so that people can see that I'm a real person and I'm not like, you know, and make the connections and also the connections I already have. Because like the funny thing is that Web3, like we all came into this space, and there's a lot of us, even when you're doxxed, like you know, you're meeting people for the first time. It's not a very like 6 degrees of separation to the IRL world, or I guess in a sense, like, and what I mean by that is like you're in this space and you're in real life world. Like a lot of us were alone in this. Like I didn't have a lot of in real life friends who were also into NFTs. Like I had one or two, you know, like. And through this space, like I've undoxed myself to certain people that I saw, and I knew it was that I found them later, that we had no idea. Basically what I'm saying is we had no idea that we were in the space together. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, we have a bit of a story about that, don't we? Like, if you think about it, it's rather funny you brought that up, because when we were in Miami, right? Now, bearing in mind, we chatted a little bit before, and obviously knew who you were because of House of Bandits and everything like that. And I think you might have known a little bit about the podcast before. I have no idea. Anyway, fast forward to Miami in December, right? I am absolutely mortal. I'm off my fucking head. I've had way too much to drink. I've got no clothes on apart from my pants. I've gone in the sea. I've got a cone on my head.
After you've abandoned me.
I'd left Jimmy, and I am absolutely battered, so I have no idea where I am. I thought I'd managed to walk the whole way home. I then get sent a picture of me with a cone on my head from someone saying that Bandit had walked me to my hotel. Now, let me fucking tell you, I have absolutely no memory of any of that. Turns out the best part is that you had no idea who I was. You just thought I was a dude.
I had no idea. When you pulled up through the bushes, I remember I was actually on the phone talking to NF Terps at that moment. It was like 3 a.m. and I was waiting for my car. And all of a sudden, when you pulled up through the bushes, I literally told Terps, "Hey, go, dude, I gotta go." And I hung up on him straight up. Just, I gotta go. Click. And I turned on my video camera because I know you can't videotape like when you're on the phone. So like I put it on there like this, and I was like, bro, what is this crazy shit? I see this guy in underwear carrying a huge cone, looks like he's sopping wet, in socks. The socks look soaking wet too. I'm like, bro, this is like one of those moments during Basel that I have to like capture right now. And then I started talking. I engaged with you and started talking to you, and it was pretty funny. I had no idea. You looked familiar to me in some weird way. I was like, why does this guy seem vaguely familiar? But I couldn't put two and two together. It was 3 a.m., dude. And like, and it's funny because I had just left 2 minutes before that. I had just left J Fells and Killshot, other Doodles. We were at like one block down at a sushi spot. But and so when we all left there, that's when I like went to get my car at the building next door. And so, yeah, man, like and then you left, you like, that's it. You disappeared from my life. And that picture. And then I was like, oh, let me get a picture of you. And you're like, that's when you sat there and you like did your thumbs up to me. And and then basically, and then that's it. You disappeared from life. Like from my life. I literally thought you were just some English tourist during Basel, and you just got drunk, right? Or pissed, right? You guys say got pissed, right? And
pissed up, mate.
And so, and then the best was at the Sappy Seals party. That's when it all came together. Like that's when it was like what? I don't forget. I was I was with Terps, and we were walking towards the outside, and I passed you. Like, oh, and by the way, when you left that night, I got back on the phone with Terps. I called him. I go, bro, you don't understand what I just ran into, and I stumbled. And he goes, what happened? And I was like, and he's in Reno, so this was like 3 hours earlier for him. So I texted him the picture. I texted him the photo of Calcio with the thumbs up, and I was like, look at this. This guy just like showed up out of the bushes. I told him what's up, like whatever, and he's like, okay. And then we laughed, and that's it. Right. And a few days later at the Sappy Seals party, completely like we're not thinking about you or the guy in his underwear. And I pass you as we're going to the outside area. There's like an outside area of the Sappy Seals party. And as we passed you and Terps was leading, I kind of like went up to Terps and go, yo, I tapped him on the shoulder. I go, yo, dude, tell me, is that the dude from the photo that I sent you? Because I think that's the guy that was in his, and he goes, what guy? I go, the guy from his underwear, bro. And he goes, and I go, and to top it off, I think that's Calcio. And he goes, Calcio? I go, he goes, a Doodle? And I was like, yes. And so and then he didn't even like talk with me about it. He like literally goes, okay. And he beeline straight to you. And that's when I saw him pull his phone and like, show you pictures. Like, oh fuck, what's this guy doing, dude? Like,
yeah, I mean, like again, I've got a bit of a track record of getting absolutely hammered at these events
every single night. Yeah.
So like at the Sappy Seals event, I consistently, because the bar was taking ages, I just carried 4 beers at all times.
Yeah.
So there's just loads there's loads of videos of me just going around just like fucking
bopping
double
out. Parked is a thing, but Calcio does quadruple parked.
Yeah,
I think a funny point to add into this story is when you met Calcio naked with his cone on his carrying his cone.
I had pants on and socks.
He had pants and socks. Sorry, my bad. What I was doing at that point, I was walking down the beach trying to find him, trying to seeing if I was going to have to drag his lifeless corpse out of the sea. Trying to see if I could find him passed out on the beach. I was walking up and down the beach trying to find him.
Well, there's a video of me. I'm in the sea, and I'm just singing "I'm in the sea" in Miami, and I'd taken my phone, my watch.
I'm in the sea.
What then happened actually is I couldn't get. Oh no, maybe that was was that a different night when I couldn't get back into the hotel, so I had to climb into a different hotel with no shoes on. I threw my watch and my shoes.
That's a different night. That was a different night.
Yeah, I thought I'd lost my watch and my shoes. But yeah, it was crazy.
That was the next night, actually.
That's where like Web3 is mental, right? Because how on earth is that so, like, how have we met in that fashion?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous, right? That is actually stupid.
It's crazy.
But yeah,
it's crazy. Like even a buddy of mine, like another Doodle, non-fungible, who's a pickle. For the longest time, we met in Web3. I only knew him as a pickle. And he knows me as Bandit, right? And like he never doxed himself or anything. So we had engaged, whatever, for a long time. I think even only until this last summer or whatever. All of a sudden, he doxed himself on his Instagram page. And when I saw his face, I go, holy shit. Like, dude, I went to this guy's wedding. Like, I know him. I know him really. I know him well, dude. And I was like, bro, like, are you kidding me? This is you? And so
Did he go dressed as a pickle then for his wedding? Because how would you not know what he looks like?
Well, I saw he doxed himself on his Instagram. On his Instagram, he had his whole family, and I saw him. Like, I was about to say his name, but I don't want to dox him. But like, and I saw him, and I was like, "Whoa, dude!" I had no idea. I had no idea that he was into Doodles or into NFTs or anything. So it's crazy.
That's
and then
Wait, that is mad.
And then I didn't dox myself right away to him. I was like, I can't wait to run into him at an in real life event, right? And I was just gonna wait until I bump into him. And so, but the problem is I never bumped into him, dude. Like 6 months went by or some shit. He didn't go to our Basel. He didn't go to some other things, some meetups that we had. And so I was like, dude. And so one morning I said, yo, dude, and I hit him up out of the blue. I was like, yo, let's go have coffee. You're in Miami, right? He's like, I think he probably thought it was weird. He was like, what? I go, do you know me? And he goes, no, do you know me? And I was like, let's go have coffee. And so I showed up at the coffee joint. I was like, yo, dude. And then we sat, he thought it was pretty funny. It was cool. It was a cool Web3 moment.
For me though, it's like, this is why we went, and obviously for us it's a bit of a trek, but we went to the US 4 times last year. We went to events in Europe as well. You've got to do it. No matter, you think about this, right? NFT NYC price action was starting to fall off for NFTs, but being in those in real life events, just people weren't asked. It was just people were just there enjoying being there. Like Miami's a great example. Doodles, like one of the lowest points they'd been in a year, whatever it would have been. People don't give a shit. They just went, enjoyed the event. We had experiences like me walking around the beach with a cone. You meet people you've never met before. Like there's so many stories that come out of it. That's the bit that makes it fun. Meeting people, seeing people, and having those
for me, it was like, I don't want to I guess I should use the word magical when I'm here in the presence of a wizzy, but like it really was honestly like crazy because it changed just even like, for example, during the first Art Basel, I was into NFTs. This was in December 2021. Doodles had already been out for like 3 months. Art Basel shows up. And whatever I do, and it's kind of the first Art Basel with like NFT centric, I guess, right? A lot of NFT shit going on. And I had done the tradition because I've been going to Art Basel for years, forever, for over a decade. And so I did the traditional IRL shit. And then at night I'd go to these parties, and none of my IRL friends here, even from the IRL art world, or my family or anybody was going to go to me with these NFT parties, because I kind of felt like it would have been difficult because I was going to these parties to engage and network and meet people, right? And so normally in my whole entire life, I've never been it's funny because I do go alone a lot of times by myself, but when I'm going to a social setting, I've never been one of these people that can just go to a bar or go to a party by themselves, and I don't know, I've always gone with other people, whatever. Anyways, NFT party, I remember we got home from some IRL event, and my family, kids were going to sleep, night was going winding down. It was 11 o'clock, and I was putting on my shoes, and my girl's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to this party." It was a gutter cat party, and I didn't know a single person there. And she's like, you're going to a party? Who are you going with? I'm like, by myself. She's like, she starts laughing. She's like, by yourself? They're just going. Who do you know there? I go, nobody. She goes, you don't, and she stopped what you're doing. She's like, so you mean to tell me you're going to a party that you know nobody at, and you've never met anybody, and you're just going there? And she's like, I'm like, yep. She's like, and do you have a ticket? And I'm like, do you need a ticket? I'm like, yeah. She's like, do you have one? I'm like, no. She's like, oh, okay, good luck. All right. She was also amazed too at the fact that I did that, because that was very out of the ordinary for me. I don't know. I just didn't, it wasn't the kind of thing that I did. And Web3, it was amazing. I remember walking into that party, and being able to just approach people, two people having a conversation here, or hey, what's up? And everybody's super welcoming. And that was something that I don't experience that in the real world. Especially coming up, I grew up in Miami, and you can't. It's weird. You can't just go up to people and out of the I don't know. You get people are what are you doing? Look at me. It's a weird vibe.
Do I know you?
Yeah, it's a weird vibe.
That was a big game changer for us actually as well, and I think we found that even the first Web3 event that we went to, ETH Denver, is just how approachable everyone
Oh
was and
yeah,
how easy it was
Yeah.
to talk to people. And even like today, like Calcio is talking to people that we met in ETH Denver that we've still got fostered relationships with that we keep meeting at all these events. And it's just the vibe is just so good, and I think it's another reason why the space is just so
yeah,
addictive.
yeah, yeah. No, it is, and everybody's inspiring one another, supporting one another, educating one another.
Hell yeah.
And there's like a real sincere like care there, because it's like we all feel like we're building and growing in whatever capacity we're each in, and it's like and when it's like nice to like learn something and want to like help somebody else with that same knowledge on it, or like do something and I don't know, put somebody on, if you have the opportunity to do that, and that's what I feel like. That's part of the whole reason I got into the space. Is for like, you know, I just thought there was this like huge opportunity for like a new way in the art world. Like, like I mean, the whole thing with the royalties, what kind of like got me in there, because I thought that was a huge, big disruptor for the in real life art world. And so I was
Yeah.
just like, wow, it's like I felt like the power back to the artist. Like it's the opportunity where an artist can actually have live the dream, as cliche as that sounds, the dream of like of like making a living off just creating art, and being creative, and putting out ideas and all that sort of thing, whereas before it's like, once it leaves the gallery, the artist is not really making any sort of long-term earnings off his work anymore.
One of my favorite things that you've done actually is when I first sort of became aware of you, talking about disruption and changing the game a little bit for the better cause. Is that infamous? Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, go ahead. Where are you going?
I'm going to the little Bored Ape Yacht Club story that I remember reading,
Oh,
where you accidentally ended up in an event
the first one.
with a purple wristband. Yeah, because that's the sort of thing that I think is really interesting about what you do, because it's not just here is my art, enjoy it. It's okay, let's do something a bit cheeky, let's do something a bit different. How did you think of doing that, and how fun was that to
Well,
actually
let's
get
also
in it?
cover the story as well, because people may not have seen this.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
great
yeah,
point.
yeah. I guess you could say maybe I guess not maybe performative in a way, but to be honest with you, that one in particular is not something that really was super planned. It wasn't planned at all. So the first NFT NYC, and the first Ape Fest or whatever, they had it at this big music venue in Brooklyn. And one of my homies, like my best friends in New York, is like really, really plugged into the music scene. So like we got into the party, no problem. And like, but when you get in, you have like a blue wristband. And so everybody had blue wristbands. And there was a VIP section of this venue that even the most plugged in people couldn't get to, because it was a private thing. It wasn't like part of the music scene. So like my buddy, he was actually kind of annoyed that we couldn't get up there, but whatever. We said fuck it, and we went to where the rest of everybody else was. And a little bit into the party, we were like waiting for Beck to come on or some shit, and I pulled into my pocket to pull out a joint, and that's when I realized I had a marker, and I pulled out the marker, and when I pulled out the marker, it was a Crink mop, and it was purple. It just so happened to be purple, and that's when like the light bulb in my head kind of went off immediately, because it was like purple, and like 30 minutes before, my homie was bitching about not having a purple wristband, purple, 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 and so I was like, "Yo, I got to," and so it kind of dawned on me, and my homie was with his girl, and they were like a major makeout session or some shit. So I was like pretty much third wheeling with them, and I like Houdini, like I just like a phantom disappeared from them and went straight to the bathroom. And so like whatever, long story short, I painted the whole damn thing and got back outside, went to the bar, scoped it out for a second, watched watched two people go to the staircase, because it was like a staircase and it was a mezzanine overlooking the whole venue, and that's like up there was like where everybody was, like. And so I watched two people go in, no problem. I grabbed the beer and I was like, all right, my turn, whatever. And as soon as I get to the thing, the security person did something new. It was like a whole new element that I wasn't even expecting, which is a flashlight. All of a sudden, they clicked the flashlight on. The flashlight came on. I was like, whoa, shit! I wasn't expecting that at all. And so I had my beer like this, and then the wristband was here, and I basically was like I just like kind of shoved it in his face real quick, like hey, as I'm like walking up the stairs, and he like shines straight up on it, and like, but I was kind of like doing a little like wiggle thing or some shit, and he's like, all right, cool, and I walked right up, and I was like, holy shit, that worked.
Nice.
And as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, Beck was the first person that like literally walked like right here, and I was like, hey, nice show, and he's like, hey, thanks, whatever, and I walked right by him, and I was like, damn, dude, and like that's like a bunch of heads were in there, and it was fun. I stayed up there for a minute, and then I found my buddy, and I hit him up, and he's like, hey, how'd you get up there or whatever, and he wanted me to come down and paint his wrist, but I stayed up there for a little bit, and then by the time I went down, he ended up leaving, and then I my other buddy was in the show, and he's an ape, and so he loves this sort of shit. And I basically told him, hey, dude, look at what I did, whatever. And he's like, take me to the bathroom. So I took him to the bathroom stall, and me and him, and it's funny, like he's like, anyway, so we painted his shit, and then we went up there, and we closed the place down. We were up there until the lights came on.
That's so cool. It's such a cool story. I love it.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of people doing just stupid things because it's fun, and it's like, you got to take a risk, you got to enjoy yourself, make a change. It's good. And that's what I quite enjoyed about the way you built House of Bandits really out. And I wonder really how you found the experience of having a project. Is it something which you've enjoyed overall? Is it something which you'd have changes to? How do you feel about it?
Oh, man, dude. There's a lot of things that I wasn't expecting, but also I'm excited. I'm super excited about the project, and I have been. But the thing that's hard is like there's a lot of different kind of my own projects that I like to do in terms of my own art and stuff, right? So it's not like I'm just doing this project alone for 15 hours a day in a room with nothing, and then that's it, wake up and sleep. Like I wish I could do that. I'm like major ADHD. Like I have to be constantly doing like a billion fucking things. So that's one thing that's like, and building a project takes you away from Twitter and engaging and doing a bunch of the fun things, because like that's where I found it to be hard. Like when I started, when I got into this whole thing, and I was doing things like with the jackets and scavenger hunts and doing things online and creating memes and shit, right? I love that shit, right? It's a lot of fun, and it's like, it's fun. It's like, it's also marketing, and it's a bunch of other things, right? So like, but then when you start building a project, like your focus has to pivot to that. So I definitely noticed a big difference in like the time I can spend like basically on Twitter and doing all that sort of shit, and planning bigger missions and shit like that, like all the fun things I really like to do. I had to kind of pause a little bit on that, and now even more so, because we're coming down to the home stretch, and now it's like I really kind of like even kind of pause a little bit on Twitter and everything just to like focus. So it's like you want your cake and eat it too, but like that's not, you gotta.
I mean, we've had the exact same experience. Like there's so many different avenues for creativity in this space, and sometimes I'm the kind of guy who has a lot of ideas, and a lot of ideas of things that I want to do for different content on the channel or whatever, or projects or just little side projects and things like that, stuff I want to put on Twitter. And it's really hard to focus in on something and really kind of like make that your key one thing that you get absolutely right. And I found that we were diluting too much by trying to go into too many other avenues. And I think one thing we want to really focus in on this year, as we discussed on a couple of our previous episodes, is really focusing in on a couple of episodes a week on the podcast and sort of get it exactly right. And then in the future, look to expand. And I think off the back of that, what I want to ask you is, of all the different things you've done, you've done some really cool stuff. What's probably been your favorite thing that you've done that where you've put your creativity into the space?
Well, what I'm working on now is that, but I guess the overview of kind of like what the project has embedded in, and the whole kind of motive and I guess in a way, kind of a core of what I want to do. It's like obviously has to do with the technology and the art, right? And so like I'm really standing behind like the physical aspect to NFTs and art, and NFTs with like a physical component to it, right? And so like obviously I love NFTs for NFTs, but me as an artist and a physical artist, I've always been interested in the idea of incorporating the tokenization of my in real life art, right? But like a twofer, like basically a really cool NFT, because I have a strong background in photography and video content creation, and a lot of that stuff is like based for other brands, that's how I've made a living, doing this for brands and stuff like that. And so like this is like where I get the opportunity to merge the two, like merge my physical like sculptures and paintings with the NFT digital technology component, right? And I do feel like the physical world is going to help bridge and onboard a lot of new collectors and things into the space, and we'll see a lot more of it. We've already been seeing a lot of it. I mean, I've been seeing it since the day I got into the space. I remember like the first, it was like an in real life artist in Italy who had a gallery show, and all his paintings had an NFT, and I thought that was like really cool. And that was like a couple of years back, and like now you're seeing a lot of stuff, even with the protocol with the Suki and Americana and all these. This is where I think it's going to go. And for me, being an artist with in real life sculptures, it's given me a new like perspective on how to create and put my work out there. So I've got like the physical component. I love the idea of like you get the NFT and you can redeem it for the physical piece, and yeah, you're not going to make it would be pretty difficult to have a physical component to like a 10,000 PFP project, but having small batches where there's a physical component, like I did the jacket NFT, which is something that I see the canvases, the jackets almost like canvases that you could wear, so like I love the idea of like getting an NFT and redeeming it for a custom jacket, putting out some skateboards, and that's I'm gonna get to make some really cool video content with that. That'll be the NFT, but it's gonna be like a piece of artwork in itself, and then you get the physical artwork. Like that whole thing to me is fascinating, especially to apply it to my physical works. It's like it's not just a fitting, but now I get to create a piece of art, physical, and then in unison with a new piece of art, a different piece of art that's the physical, that's the NFT. I mean, and so that to me is like,
yeah,
it's like getting two awesome things, and I'm like I just want to create. Like honestly, I have my passion for creating. Like I have too many ideas and not enough time to put it down there, and I'm glad that I've honed in on on one massive one. Like the PFP project that we're putting out, it's really a PFP project, but what we're putting out has a big association with the physical items, and my in real life art is incorporated. It's like having it all interconnected to me is fascinating and fun as hell.
Well, it definitely resonates, man, because we were with Kenobi, who was one of our recent episodes. He was one of the founders of Metaverse Miami. And we got an Uber down to Doodle Park. And this is when you would just put out your tweet about hiding the jacket somewhere near Doodle Park.
Oh, yeah.
And the Uber dropped us off like a 10-minute walk from Doodle Park. We didn't realize until we got out. And we're like, damn it. And Kenobi was like walking, like he was almost running down the road. And I'm like, Kenobi, slow down, man. What's going on? He's like, I've got to get that jacket. I just have to get that jacket. He was so motivated to get there. So man, what you're doing is resonating. You're doing the right things.
It's fun, man. Look, for me, that's a part of the community too. I really fuck with Doodles. I love the community. That's the first community that kind of like birthed everything I'm doing. To be honest with you, yeah. I've always looked at I had this kind of crazy idea, I don't talk about this often, but and it goes back to where you were asking me about my PFP, but I thought to myself, imagine just the concept of an NFT, a PFP, right? So an NFT is born, and that NFT, which is the identity, right? So Bandit, but it's a Doodle, right? The identity, yeah. This PFP becomes an artist, like it's born from Doodles, becomes an artist, and then so an NFT is making another NFT, basically. It's kind of like this concept that's kind of like what I had first kind of thought of when I was like starting the whole thing with Bandit.
I know what you mean. I think it's one of those things where the thing I've really enjoyed is I am a collectibles dealer, so I really enjoy IP. I love the idea of people being able to enjoy and thrive on loving something that someone else has made. Like my entire career is literally selling other people's product. And so what you end up seeing through that is how important those stories that other people have told are to people who are perhaps not as creative, who don't have the innovation or experience, whatever it would be, to go out and create that huge and brilliant IP. So for someone like me, seeing and having the experience in Web3 that I get to talk to so many people like yourself who are almost too creative. Like I could tell when you're talking, you're like, shit, I want to talk about this, and there's this idea that I want to get in there, and oh fuck, what about that thing I thought about 2 days ago?
Yeah,
that's quite a good idea.
That's
and then
life.
there's like a dream you've had, and there's all these weird things, and you're sitting there, it's like just this mad manic, like brain is a canvas almost of all these little ideas that are coming together. And that's the biggest thing I find with Web3, that there are so many people who, if you put them all in a room, it would be fucking mental, and it would be like this orgy of creation. But I wanna know if you could give us that summary in and I know this is a tricky one, but in a minute or less, for someone looking at Bandit from the outside in a minute or less, who is Bandit and what is his mission in Web3?
In a minute or less, who's Bandit? I'm an artist, and I'm here to put my creativity out there for anybody to enjoy, who would enjoy it. I mean, that's the dream, right? To be having a life where you create joy in other people. And not only that, I like to, not only be inspired myself, but inspire other people by spreading, anything else, like, other artists and other works out there, And man, I want to, bro, I feel like I'm a giver, man. I feel like I've been giving. I like giving. I don't know, man. I like giving and putting my work out there.
No, that's good, man. Like, as you can tell, people love your content. Immediately, everyone jumped on wanting to get a dark mode version of their Doodles. Everyone's loving the stuff you're putting out there. As I said about Kenobi, charging down the street, trying to get one of those jackets. I think he wanted to give it to someone as a Christmas present. So you're doing all the right things. And man, it's been so good to have you on the episode. I would love if we could sit here and talk to you for 2 hours, but we're trying to keep all of our episodes down to about 30 minutes to make the animation nice and tight. So it's been absolutely awesome to have you on. We'll definitely get you on again at some point, and follow the track of not just Bandit, but also House of Bandit and how your project goes and the artwork you're getting out there, because I think you've just got such a load of cool content to give the space, and I think the whole space is just massively grateful for it. So thanks very much.
No, I appreciate both of you, for real, man. And what you guys are doing, and I think it's kick ass, man. And I appreciate you guys having me on here, for real.
Welcome anytime, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Right Click Say podcast this week. I've been Calcio, your host, joined as always by Jimmy T, and our fantastic guest today was Bandit. We'll make sure to drop all of his social links below so that you can, of course, check out his work and further information. Just make sure you do comment below on who you'd like to see next on the episodes, and subscribe to the biggest and, I will caveat, only animated podcast in Web3. Thank you very much. See you later.